All right, so let's take a look at what's happening lately in the world of OPR. I just got word yesterday that North Carolina One Page Rules will be putting up another tournament at Atomic Empire in Durham, North Carolina. So if you're in the area, definitely check this out. It is at the Atomic Empire site is a huge store. They've got plenty of room for everybody, plenty of room for the tournament that they have. You're not squished or hemmed in or bumping elbows with other game tournaments going on. There was the last time we were there, we had our own little aisle, and it was we could still see everybody else that what they were doing, but um, you didn't have there wasn't conversations going on about another game distracting you or anything. I felt totally locked in on the tournament. It was also fairly low key. I would describe the tournament as competitive, but there was no dice throwing or banging on a table or cursing or anything like that where people are getting upset. That people were definitely trying to win, but it wasn't the end of the world when they blew a die roll. It was just, oh man, I can't believe that. Um, and so it was a really nice tournament, very nice atmosphere. So I highly recommend it. It will be on September 26th. That's a Saturday from 10 to 6:30. They're pretty good. I don't remember us getting off schedule. Now, there is a bit of a caveat. There was a 2,000 point game last time, 2,000 point tournament on 4x4 tables, which made the games faster. They're going to try to keep the same schedule. I finished way early every single game. So I would expect most people, if not all of them, will be able to finish because the people that showed up, they knew the rules. There was a rule here, there we were kind of shaky on, but you get the guy that's running the tournament and he would give you a ruling right away and you just move on. And it was really good. But this time they're going to be adding a few things that are going to add to the game, which I think are exciting and perfect for the second tournament that they're doing. And that is we're going to a 3,000 point game. However, you're going to have a sideboard. Look, let me get this straightened out. Okay, so 2,500 is your main army. And then you're going, this is basically a unit you're going to unit or two you're going to switch out to deal with certain lists. So I think that's really good. I've never played a tournament where I had a sideboard, and I always thought it was a good idea. So this will be very interesting to see if I'm right about sideboards. Also, in addition to the basic rules, we're going to be using the advanced actions from the advanced rules. So that's going to be things like assault. What else was there? Overwatch was a big one. And then there's two defensive ones where instead of just, let's say you are shaken, instead of just sitting there and blowing a turn, at least you can sit there and get a bonus to your defense for hunkering down. There's two of them. I wish they would just combine it and maybe it's either -2 somebody to hit you on attack or shooting. I wish it was a -1 to everything. I think that would be simpler and easier and more just as useful. Anyway, they've got those rules in there for the advanced activations, and you can only use one official army book per player. So you have to use the official armies, which is good because then there's no crazy lists or anything like that. It's a tournament. You should have something like that, and they're going to be using the progressive style of victory points. So this will give the advantage to people that jump on objectives early and continue to defend them. I know there are some armies where you're just going around blowing everybody up, taking objective, like one objective each turn, and then by the end of the game, you're winning. So progressive, I think, evens that out. So a lot of things in here that are going to make, in my opinion, the game's a lot more even no matter which army you take. As long as you take a competitive army, I think you're going to be you're going to have a chance to win. So here we go. We've got the force organization is turned on when you do the 2005. So basically, making a 2,500 point army. You're allowed to use narrative heroes, which is interesting because not every army has narrative heroes, and they're all, well, not all of them, but some of them have really good abilities. So that'll be interesting to see. But then with your sideboard, you cannot take a narrative hero. So that's got to be something generic. The force organization can be turned off. That's to allow you to take like a tank or whatever. So it makes sense because you're basically going to make one army here and then 3 more 500 point armies. So you turn off the force organization so you can take whatever you want as long as it's 500 points or less. You can use the same army. You have to use the same army book as the main army. So you can't take high elf fleets and then dwarves on the sideboard. It's got to all be the same army. Sideboards are a group of units that player brings to the game but is not included in their main list initially. Instead, sideboard provides flexibility. Before the deployment phase, both players decide and reveal one of their 3 sideboard lists they'll be adding to their main army. So basically, you're going to look at their main army and decide which of your sideboards is going to deal with their main army. So this is really nice because I think this will mitigate some of these armies. I don't know too many examples in OPR, but for instance, in Flames of War, what I would find, somebody would bring a lot of light tanks, just a huge army of light tanks. And if you only have a certain amount of anti-tank weapons with you, they'll just overwhelm you just by the nature of things. So you have to find a way to mitigate against that. And when you go to a tournament, you got to take do you do that? Do you go on an all-in, or do you do a all-around army to try to deal with everything? And what ends up happening is that the all-in armies, the crazy armies that really don't make any sense, tend to win out because they have something that is very difficult to deal with if you're an all-comer. If you have an all-comer list, you just don't have enough of that one thing to deal with the one thing that the other army has had. Another one would be an infantry swarm, where you've just got a whole bunch of infantry and you just can't kill enough of them. So they win, and it takes away from the game, I think. So having the sideboard and seeing their 2,500 point army there really does help you deal with what if somebody does an all-in type of army. Deployment resumes and the game plays as normal. So wait a minute. So before deployment. Okay. So before deployment, you decide which of your sideboards, then you reveal them together. So I'm guessing you write it down. It's probably what they're going to do. And then you say, okay, here's my other 500 that I'm bringing to the 3,000 point total. Deployment resumes and the game plays as normal. Some common sideboards are a unit of or 2 of deadly, blast, or spellcaster to help fill a hole in your army. The core and beginner guide. Okay, so now they're just going through the rules, and then to get the advanced rules, which will only be the activations from the way that stands right now. Army list URLs are submitted by September 16th. So this is so the tournament organizers can verify that your army is legitimate and that's what you're bringing. And what's really nice about this in the last tournament is that they sent out an email with everybody's list, so everybody got to see what they were bringing. So you don't get there and get surprised. Surprise, I've got this weird army that nobody ever saw before. And no, you get to see it, analyze it. Stacy and I on the drive down, he read the armies and we discussed them and how to try to deal with them and so forth. It didn't help too much. We're still kind of inexperienced and didn't see a couple things coming, but at least we had a chance to figure it out, and I thought that was really nice. Opponents are chosen randomly for all 3 matches, but if there's a situation that you want to play somebody or don't want to play somebody, so for instance, Stacy and I, we live near each other and we play each other already, so we didn't need to play each other in tournament. They did have us matched up in one of the games, and we asked, hey, can you just switch us out to somebody else? And they did. It wasn't a problem. The scoring method will be a modified progressive scoring, 1 point a round for each central objective held, 2 points for owning opponents of home objectives. So I'll get to that in a minute when we look at the map, but it will be progressive. Oh, just to say the opponents chosen randomly, I'm going to send them a message, but I thought a Swiss modified was always the coolest. And maybe this just makes it easy for them, and we're still just, figuring it out. But the Swiss modified, I really enjoyed, where you take the 2 best players and put, so everybody, is random the first round. And then after that, you kind of get ranked, the winners play the winners and the losers play the losers. And then, and then in the 3rd round, you'll have, so let's say you've got 8 players. In the first round, 4 players win, 4 players lose. The 4 winners play each other, and they'll have 2 winners, and then those 2 winners will play each other in the final match. And then in the middle, you'll have people that are 1 and 1, and they'll play each other. And then the 2 people at the bottom, there's 2 people who have lost. They play each other. So you're always playing a player or an army that is either doing really well or struggles. And I always thought that was the most fair way of figuring out a tournament matchups. So hopefully that will change. That's the only thing there. The random, there's nothing wrong with the random. I just thought the Swiss modified was a better way to do tournaments. Bring a pencil, notebook, multiple copies of your army list and your miniatures. This did help, even though they made copies for us. It's good to bring your own copies and bring a copy for each of your opponents. So at least 4 copies of your army list is a good courtesy. Dice status markers and tape measures will be on the table if needed. I bring my own. Some other people bring their own, but that's really nice to have dice status markers for everybody. And if you call a judge, the decision will be final. So it's 4 turns, of course. Most victory points at the end of round 4 wins. It's model agnostic, of course. You bring whatever you want. You bring Lego figures if you want to. It's still good to go. As long as they're about the right size that we're using in the game. Painting and what you see is what you get are not required but encouraged. So if you've got Space Marines with the wrong weapon, as long as you've got some sort of marking on there to let people know, okay, this is the one that has the las cannon, this one has a missile launcher. Everybody's cool with it. You don't have to have your models painted. It's not a requirement. I don't even know if they have an award for the best painted army. I'll have to check. I don't think they did, but nevertheless, everybody on the last tournament had theirs at least basically painted, a color on there to show that that's their army. I don't remember any unpainted. There might have been one. I can't remember. All right, so here is the map, and this is the coolest part about this tournament is that they have the same map for every game. So you can look at the map, you can plan out your tactics, how is your army going to play, what are your main objectives. So let's assume that you start over here. You're the 1 player and they're the 2 player. So this is the deployment area, obviously. This is cover, and I'm guessing it is low cover, and this will be high cover. We'll have to check up on that. However, there is a dangerous and cover right here. I'm guessing it's like a cannon or minefield or something like that. And so you have your 6 objectives. You get 1 point for each of these that you get for every round that you hold them, and 2 points for the enemy's objective. You get 0 for your own objective. So you don't have to worry about it. You just have, unless the enemy starts moving into your rear, and then they can start getting points. So that is, and then you've got forest here. They break it up. They break up the battlefield very nicely, and it's obviously even. You know, you have 2 near you, they have 2 near them, and 1 in each zone. And the terrain mirrors whatever side. So if you're on this side, it's going to look the same as this side. So that's really cool how they set it up. They did this the last time. I thought it worked out really well. And yeah, they also are going to use the hybrid true line of sight. So yeah, if you got a large, you know, depending on toughness, basically is how tall the model is. Yeah, so it's not true. What you see is what you get when it comes to line of sight. But the bigger the model, the higher it's going to be, if you have any trouble knowing what can fire over what. First place will be determined by the number of victory points. Tiebreaker is the sum of the opponent's full unit points destroyed. So at the end of each game, what we did was we counted up how many points we destroyed of the enemy and just kept a track of that too. So if there was a tie with victory points, that was the tiebreaker. And I thought that was a very nice tiebreaker. That was a good job. It cost $10 to register. And the registration deadline, of course, is the 16th, where you have to have your lists in at that time. So if you get a chance to do that, definitely show up. If you're thinking about doing another tournament, I think you should copy what these guys do if you can. It is really cool to have these universal boards that everybody will be able to play on. Now, if I remember correctly, I don't see any limitations, but I believe they said it was either 16 or 20 people was the max. Maybe it was 16. I don't see anything on here. They might put it up later. But yeah, don't get left out because people signed up before you. This is a highly recommended, in my opinion, tournament. Really well constructed, run, and I enjoyed myself the last time, so I expect to have just as much fun this time. All right, so hope that you're getting into tournaments, that you're getting to start clubs and casual play with one-page rules in your area or an area nearby. And I will catch you next time.